Level 1, Pyrrhonian skepticism, living without verdicts. Imagine waking up and refusing to pass sentence on reality, not because you're lazy, because you're disciplined. The Pyrrhonists' daily practice is okay. You gather reasons for and against any hot claim until they feel roughly equal in weight, and then you set the claim down like a hot pan. Does honey taste sweet? It appears so. Are the gods real? Some say yes, some no. You proceed on what appears. The reward is ataraxia, a quiet mind that stops getting dragged by certainties that never quite deliver. You still eat, love, vote, and keep promises. You just do it without metaphysical tantrums. Picture an ordinary day under this discipline. Coffee appears hot. You drink it. A colleague seems hostile. Instead of writing a 10-chapter novel about motives, you ask one clean question and let evidence revise the story. Online, a scandal everyone knows has a villain. You collect arguments to both sides, notice the tie, and set the pan down. Your blood pressure thanks you. Pyrrhonism isn't apathy. It's tactics, provisional hypotheses, corrections on contact, a bias toward non-harm, and reciprocity because those habits have survived a lot of experiments in human history. The attack is obvious. If you suspend judgment, how do you act? The answer is, like a careful doctor. You embrace fallible decisions made at the right speed with the best information available, and you leave room to be shown wrong. The danger is also obvious. Neutrality can become a costume for cowardice. The cure is distinguishing levels. Suspend about ultimate metaphysics, decide about proximate harms. You don't need certainty to pull a child out of the road. Over time, the practice becomes a kind of moral posture, steadfast in kindness, soft in ego, quick to revise. I don't know. Stops being surrender and becomes a door you keep open so better answers can walk in. Level 2, solipsism, a universe with one heartbeat. Close your eyes and accept the most corrosive thought in philosophy. What if only your mind exists? Everyone else, background actors, well-written, very convincing. The coffee's warmth, a friend's laugh, the ache in your chest, scenes in a private theater whose projector sits behind your eyes. As a thought experiment, solipsism is pure solvent. It dissolves secondhand dogma and forces you to inspect experience itself. How much of what you know is testimony you never tested? How quickly does your brain fill gaps with guesses, then forget it guessed? Stay here too long and it's a starvation diet. In a world where no other subject really stands beside you, love becomes ventriloquism and ethics a stage prop. No one can betray you, but no one can love you either. People who camp here turn brittle. Everything is a mirror, nothing a window. So use solipsism like bleach, excellent for cleaning, deadly as a beverage. Strip beliefs to what you directly encounter, then rebuild with vetted testimony, track records, and the consequences that push back. The climb back begins with resistance. Reality refuses your fantasies. Trains do not leave when wished. Deadlines do not dissolve because you slept poorly. Persons refuse you too, apologize badly, and the day reorganizes around their pain. That resistance is not a prop, it's a counterclaim. Ethical realism re-enters as humility. I cannot prove you exist in a lab sense. I can be proved wrong by you in every other sense. The practice becomes simple. Ask, what do I actually know here? What am I borrowing? Then act as if persons are real, because life only works that way, and let the world grade your choices. The point isn't to stand alone in a perfect idea, it's to return from the edge with sharper eyes and a softer voice. Level 3, ancient cynicism. Burn the script, keep the truth, breath. A sunlit marketplace. A man sleeps in a barrel, wakes to heckle a conqueror, and holds up a lamp at noon looking for an honest man. Ancient cynicism, from Kinnikos dog-like, isn't bitterness, it's radical freedom from sham. The cynic's wager, live with so little that nothing can be taken. Speak with so little fear that power can't buy your tongue. Reject what owns you, status props, costume morals, purchased admiration. Reveal what everyone sees and no one says. The preacher with a vanity side hustle, the magistrate who finds poverty but lunches with theft. Repair what simplicity returns. Time for neighbors, courage for truth, tenderness for creatures that can't pay you back. Why go that far? Because comfort is a silencer. The more fragile your status, the more quiet deals you sign to keep it. Cynicism is a fire drill. If the cost is burn, what's left of you? Answer honestly and you either find a spine or discover you needed a new one. There's danger here. Shamelessness can become a costume too. Scorn is an easy religion. The cure is remembering the aim. not to perform rebellion, but to make truth-telling and care possible again. The modern cynic doesn't need a barrel. They need boundaries. A day of voluntary simplicity. No shopping, repair something, walk. A sponsor audit lists the institutions that feed you and the truths each makes hard to say. A usefully shameless act, one uncomfortable truth offered gently where flattery is expected. Over time, the style hardens into character. Pomp becomes funny. Whistleblowers feel less alone. Your yes means yes because you can afford to say no. Need less. Fear less. Say more truth. Love more freely. Level 4, Desert Asceticism, the war in the quiet. Beyond the last lantern, a figure builds a cell of stone and keeps vigil with the wind. Desert asceticism wagers that when the world shrinks, the soul reveals its armies. Fasting isn't theater, it is surveillance. Silence is not mood, it is a mirror. Manual work keeps the body honest when visions arrive. The regimen is boring on purpose. Food plain enough to be fuel, sleep enough to stay sane, the day cut into prayers, labor, reading, and hospitality. The fight is mostly internal. Pride wearing humility's clothes, lust sneaking in via nostalgia, acedia, the noonday demon, whispering that nothing matters. Old hermits named each snake so it could be hunted in light. Why go this far? Because attention is the most looted resource in the world, and without it, love starves. The desert gives it back. When it flowers, the result is fierce gentleness, elders who can read a heart like weather and feed you with a word. When it fails, it curdles into spiritual vanity or escapism. Remedies, obedience, and community. A rule, a friend, a visitor, a superior with authority to say, enough zeal, go sleep. You don't need dunes to learn the lesson. Practice micro-asceticism, 1 day a week without sugar or screens, an hour of silence daily, a set of hidden acts no one can praise. Put the phone in another room at night. Let a prayer be stupidly simple. Here I am. Ascetic cultures build rhythms that protect attention, Sabbaths that halt the machine, festivals that sanctify joy, fasting that remembers hunger's logic. Societies that never fast forget how to feast. Deny the world to love it better, not to despise it. So when you return, you bring bread and a steadier face. Level 5, Cyrenaic hedonism, the art of the instant buys. If tomorrow is fog, yesterday a ghost, why not enthrone now? The Cyrenaics take pleasure off apology and put it on the schedule. Taste, touch, laughter, wit, present delights, because only the present is certain. Done well, this is not a toddler's ethic, it's craftsmanship. You learn which pleasures are actually sweet when the bill arrives and which are counterfeit coins that buy a hangover. You cultivate style so intensity doesn't eat itself, music that deepens a room instead of drowning it, friendships that flavor joy rather than flatten it, food that leaves the next hour bright instead of dull. A day in practice looks humbly rich. Morning, coffee you actually taste, no scrolling, no inbox shrapnel. Work becomes a flow sport, single-tasked, phone exiled. Afternoon, 10 minutes of sun with someone you laugh with, a walk that turns gossip into gratitude. Evening, a meal you cook rather than scroll, a book that raises the mind's temperature by a degree, a little beauty you paid attention to rather than bought. Pleasure as attention, not anesthesia. The traps are obvious and lethal. Hedonism becomes self-harm when it confuses numbing with nourishing. If the pleasure requires lying, hiding, or deleting tomorrow's calendar, it wasn't pleasure. It was escape with a cover charge. Another trap, turning people into instruments of your mood. That's not joy, that's consumption with better lighting. A mature hedonist measures the blast radius. The best pleasures add to others' lives. The worst subtract. Shared meals, shared jokes, shared songs, multipliers. Exploitation, envy, humiliation, poisons. If a joy can survive sunlight and confession, keep it. If it needs secrecy to breathe, let it go. Keep a pleasure journal, the honest version. What left you clearer, what left you duller. Swap scroll for craft. Make something, bread, code, a letter that becomes tomorrow's small inheritance. Budget for wonder, a concert, a train to a place with no reputation, a park you've never entered. Practice enough. Stop at the point where gratitude peaks. Done well, hedonism becomes not noise, but note. A life tuned to savor without theft, intense without residue, present without amnesia. Level 6. Hard fatalism, the script you perform, not write me. This vision says the future is fixed. Your choices are scenes you were always going to play. Not just events are caused, but outcomes are sealed. Lived honestly, fatalism can feel like a deep exhale. Resentments lose oxygen. Envy looks silly. fear shrinks. The wheel turns. You ride it upright. You do your tasks the way a good actor honors a role, fully, without tantrum, because dignity isn't in control, it's in conduct. But the creed bites both ways. It can anesthetize courage, baptize injustice, it was meant, and turn prudence into passivity. Distinguish it from causal determinism, where reasons still matter. Hard fatalism courts moral sleep. The better version is amor fati. Love your fate by answering it. If hunger appears, cook. If wrong appears, oppose. If grief appears, carry it cleanly. Act as if responsibility is yours, because whatever the metaphysics, the world responds to effort. Let the script be fixed or not, your performance is still yours. Level 7. Philosophical anarchism. No one has the magic right to rule. The anarchist claim is narrow and explosive. States lack inherent moral authority. Consent, not coercion, legitimizes obligations. In practice, that means building order from the bottom up. Customs, commons, contracts, guilds, cooperatives. Norms you can exit if they rot. You already know this world. Open source projects that outship empires, neighborhoods that handle snow faster than City Hall, disaster relief woven by strangers before agencies arrive. The risk is romanticism, free riders, mafias in the power vacuum, private tyrannies wearing friendly logos. The counter is federation and transparency, overlapping associations, clear rules, published ledgers, reputation that bites cheats. Even if you keep a minimalist state for courts and commons, the anarchist insight remains a test you can apply tomorrow. Where do I give obedience I never consented to? Where can I replace force with voluntary systems that prove themselves by service? It's not chaos, it's consent, scaled. Level 8. Egoist ethics. Own your life like you mean it. Strip away inherited shoulds and you meet ownness. I am not born rented. Egoism starts there. It exposes how many moral rules are power in costume, duties that shackle the productive and excuse the parasitic. It asks you to trade pity machines for trades, honesty because reputation compounds, promise-keeping because future you needs allies, generosity because you like the person you are when you do it. That's not a glitch. Enlightened self-interest discovers virtues that actually pay. The danger is small soul selfishness, treating people as fuel, confusing short-term grabs with long-term gain, sawing the ladder of trust you'll soon need. Stirner's spooks, empty abstractions, are real. So are the goods we only get together. Language, markets, science. A clean egoism signs clear contracts, keeps them, and invests in public goods because the return is real. It refuses martyrdom on demand and refuses predation that salts the earth it has to walk tomorrow. Level 9. Total utilitarianism. Add up the joy, no favorites. Take impartiality seriously. Every sentient experience counts equally, and the right act is what maximizes the sum. The stance is bracing. Your child's smile and a stranger's relief are morally commensurable. $1 does more in a clinic than in your latte. Policy should move money and medicine where they create the most quality-adjusted life. At scale, this ethic built vaccines, bed nets, and cost-effectiveness tables that saved millions. But it is also demanding and weird. It can ask you to sacrifice romance for spreadsheets, to prefer one huge future of barely happy billions over fewer very happy lives, the repugnant conclusion, to accept killing one to save 5 when the numbers are clear. The humane workaround is rules and heuristics that approximate the target while guarding persons, ban torture, protect rights, then optimize within those fences, use marginal utility to guide giving, measure but don't melt the human in the math. Let impartial love steer. Let safeguards keep you human. Level 10. Negative utilitarianism. Stop the worst pains first. Flip the target. The primary moral task is reducing suffering. It centers burn wards before spa days, famine relief before festivals, suicide hotlines before symphonies. As public ethics, it's a corrective we forget at our luckiest. Budget painkillers, clean water, road safety, mental health access, animal welfare, guardrails against tail risk disasters. A society that makes suffering rare, brief, and bearable is already far along the road to goodness. The cliff edge is fanaticism. If only suffering matters, one could argue that no sentient life at all is best. Most negative utilitarians hedge, prioritize lexically, prevent extreme suffering even at cost to mild happiness, then, under rights constraints, also seek joy. In practice, fund the worst off first, ban practices that create intense, prolonged agony, design policy by asking who hurts most here, and answer with engineering, not poems. The goal isn't a numb world, it's a world where joy isn't built on someone's scream. Level 11, antinatalism, ending the conveyor on purpose. Antinatalism begins with a blunt empathy test. If you could prevent a stranger's future pains without erasing a currently happy person, would you? Now, apply it to people who don't exist yet. The antinatalist says procreation is loading a dice tower with migraines, griefs, cancers, betrayals, and death, without the consent of the player who will pay the bill. Yes, there are joys, but joys often require learn to bear pains you never asked to learn. Better, they argue, to refuse the deal than to draft someone into it. Lived seriously, this becomes a discipline of non-creation and care. Adopt rather than conceive, pour resources into those already here, shrink harm's surface area. It can radiate compassion. No one is treated as a means to a parent's meaning. Every child who exists is greeted as a responsibility, not a prop. The cliff's edge is misanthropy or despair. A healthy version keeps three guardrails. 1. Never sneer at parents. Moral injury isn't love's fruit. 2. Distinguish between not causing a life and not helping a life. Choose the first, reject the second. 3. Fight the fixable sources of suffering, poverty, cruelty, disease. Even if you think existence is net negative, if you're right, relief still matters, and if you're wrong, you just made a good world better. Antinatalism's gift, even to pronatalists, is the pressure it puts on us to justify existence with kindness, not inertia. Level 12, legalism, order by iron law, where virtue ethics pleads and Confucianism tutors, legalism engineers. People, says the legalist, predictably chase advantage and dodge pain. Build a system that assumes this and you'll get order. Make laws clear, penalties certain, rewards mechanical, and officials replaceable. No sermons, just incentives. The aim is a state that runs even when saints are scarce. Especially then. It can work. Spectacularly. Standard weights and measures, roads and records, tax systems that fund irrigation and defense, corruption starved by fear of swift audit. Legalism's honesty about human frailty is its adult strength. But when pushed to its extreme, it salts the soil it feeds. Citizens become subjects, initiative withers under suspicion, speech turns to coded shrugs, and officials game the metrics they're measured by. A nation of hedgehogs survives. It does not sing. The humane lesson to steal. Write legible rules with predictable consequences, then pair them with independent courts and a culture that can forgive. Make it hard to cheat and easy to comply, harder still to rule by whim. Use law as the skeleton, not the whole body. Level 13, world-rejecting dualism. Purity against the planet, Manichaeans, Cathars, and other dualists stare at the world and see a trap. Spirit and matter in mortal conflict, with matter the jailer. Sex, wealth, meat, marriage, even birth itself are suspect ties to the realm of decay. Salvation is separation. Eat little, touch less, confess often, climb the rope out of the pit. There's a fierce beauty here. The courage to stand against appetites that turn people into property. The refusal to let power baptize greed with liturgy. But the metaphysical contempt can curdle into human contempt. Children arrive as problems, not gifts. Craft becomes compromise. Care of bodies looks like treason to the soul. Communities grow thin and brittle. Compassion shrinks where contact is shunned. The world does not need our worship, but it does need our repairs. A redeemable core remains. Treat idolatry of flesh, fame, or fortune as pollution. Practice limits that free love from addiction. Remember that some refusals are the beginning of tenderness. Keep that, and refuse the slander that matter is unworthy of mercy. If you cannot hug the sick, your holiness is a rumor. Level 14, social Darwinism, moralizing the winner's circle. Take a scientific insight, differential survival, and turn it into a sermon. The strong deserve the spoils. The weak deserve their fall. Now build policy on that. Safety nets are perverse incentives, regulation a fetish, conquest a proof, unions a parasite, mercy a decadence. In the short run, this ethic feels hard-edged and refreshing. In the long run, it is a solvent that dissolves trust, the cheapest infrastructure any society owns. Markets without guardrails invite predators. Politics without solidarity breeds oligarchs. Culture without pity makes cowards who cosplay bravery and run when the wind changes. Abroad, neighbors form coalitions against you because your creed advertises you won't stop. At home, talent exits rather than play rigged games, and birth lotteries replace effort as destiny. Fitness becomes theater, decay hides in the gym mirror. Keep the gym mirror. Keep what's true, feedback matters, incentives matter, reality doesn't pity bad engineering, and throw away the cruelty. The grown-up synthesis. Protect competition where it builds value, forbid predation where it cannibalizes the future, and measure success not by who got richest, but by how many lives got stronger because the strong remembered to be human. Level 15, Robespierrean Jacobinism, virtue with a blade. Start with a clean, electrifying promise, rights, bread, citizenship, and add an accelerant. We will be pure or we will be dead. The Jacobin instinct is to weaponize virtue, committees of public safety, laws against suspects, tribunals that confuse speed with justice. Terror becomes a sublime tool, suspicion becomes policy, loyalty becomes a daily pledge you renew by denouncing someone with yesterday's zeal, but today's hesitation. It works for a season. Grain moves, armies rally, corruption flees the open. Then the logic eats itself. To prove you love the good, you must show you hate its enemies harder than yesterday. The circle tightens until the knife finds its makers. Economies freeze under fear, talent deserts the stage, the revolution meets the guillotine it built. The lesson isn't don't want virtue, it's institutionalized dissent and slow violence. Enforce rights with courts that outlast moods, tie emergency powers to clocks and audits, prefer the dull heroism of fair trials to the addictive theater of purges. A nation can be stern without being savage, devoted without being devoutest. The moment goodness needs a blade to stay upright, it's already fallen. Level 16, Leninist vanguardism, the party as conscience and engine. Take a messy nation and promise it a shortcut to history. A vanguard will think for the class, speak for the people, and abolish the detours of debate. The party is the scalpel. Democratic centralism is the rule. Argue inside, obey outside. Newspapers become megaphones. Unions become corridors. Police learn new definitions of enemy. Planning arrives with heroic charts. Steel by the ton, wheat by the million. The moral tone is surgical certainty. Mistakes aren't errors, they're sabotage. For a while, the map straightens. Literacy rises, rails connect, factories wake. Then the bill, information dies in fear, targets replace truth, famine grows in the dark while the graphs keep smiling. A society can sprint on ideology it cannot see with it. When a party makes itself the nation's conscience, the nation loses its nerves. Level 17, Fascist Totalism, the nation as a body, you as a cell. The lights are theatrical because the politics is too. Fascism sells transcendence, one people, one will, one leader whose jawline is destiny. Complexity becomes treason, opponents become disease, violence is cleansing, beautiful even, marches, uniforms, torches in tidy rows. The economy is corporatist, bosses and unions fused under state tutelage, real power sits where fear sits. Art is posters, history is a drum. The buzz is real, unemployment falls, trains run, streets feel orderly. The rot is faster, truth becomes choreography, neighbors become informants, and foreign policy becomes a dare you cannot stop escalating. Fascism eats the individual to make a myth, then eats the myth to feed the war it promises it can win because it has uniforms. Level 18, Genocidal Racialism. Nazism, blood as metaphysics, murder as policy. Take race not as a bad idea, but as ultimate reality. Put a state behind it, give it laboratories, ledgers, and laws. The result is not bias, it's a machine. Eugenics as hygiene, camps as labor, ghettos as management, mass shooting as action. Science is reskinned as obedience. Doctors become clerks of death. Children are sorted by skull and surname. War gives the project cover and appetite. Conquest is framed as biology on the march. Bureaucrats do arithmetic with lives. Poets write odes to murder. Neighbors learn to look away. The end is rubble, tribunals, and a moral crater that still smokes. Nazism isn't just evil. It's a warning about what happens when a metaphysical lie gets civil service hours and rail timetables. Level 19, Theocratic Totalism. One creed crowned as law. Here, salvation has a badge. Scripture becomes statute. Blasphemy becomes felony. Police memorize verses. For a season, the street looks tidy. Vice goes indoors. Slogans go loud. The long run is thinner. Talent leaves. Markets dull. Inquiry shrinks to catechism. Minorities practice invisibility. Majority factions practice knives. Because God cannot be wrong, leaders cannot admit error. Because doctrine must be pure, life must be policed. Love, dress, music, books. Courts become pulpits. Pulpits become courts. Both grow worse at their jobs. Faith deserves freedom. It dies as force. A country that makes one path sacred makes every other path contraband, and soon finds it has no roads left when it needs a detour. Level 20, Year Zero, Utopianism. Erase the past, remake the human era. Imagine declaring the calendar a crime scene. Cities evacuated, books suspect, glasses a death sentence because literacy looks like treason. Year Zero projects. Think Khmer Rouge. Promise purity by subtraction. No markets, no money, no memory, just fields, quotas, and confession. Families split so loyalty flows only up. Children learn to denounce parents. Language itself is simplified, so doubt has fewer words. The leaders sleep in ideology. The country sleeps in ditches. Famine is explained as revolutionary discipline. Graves multiply until even the executioners run out of explanations. Utopianism at gunpoint always discovers the same fact. Humans do not reboot. They break. The most extreme philosophy isn't a vision of the good. It's the decision to burn everything that gets in its way, including the people it claimed to save.